I think we can get started now. Please let me know in the comments if you can without any sound. So please reach out to comment. While you're doing that, situation and what it means to management consulting and to your job prospects altogether. And here, an important caveat: no one knows what the future holds in store, especially in this situation. So, not even management consultants. So, I can share with you only my best guess on what might happen and what you need to do to prepare. So, this is the first topic. The second topic I'm going to talk about is video interviews and what you can do to improve your chances of scoring high on those interviews. My advice would be pretty much common sense, but common sense based on my own experience of teaching and conducting interviews in English over Skype and other programs. So that might be useful to you. And then the third part will be questions. And as always, I will take questions and answer to the best of my ability. And I'm happy that now I have the chance to talk to you guys finally. I think it was almost, actually more than 6 months since I last talked to you. So I guess you have quite a lot of questions. So I really look forward to your questions in the third part of this discussion. All right. Still don't see your comments. Does that mean that there is some problem with my connection? Let me see. Well, okay, I did my best. I checked everything I could, but the stream seems to be running. So I just assume that you didn't have time to write comments so far. That's all right, because anyways, I'm gonna kick off with my stuff, and I will take comments only after I finish what I wanted to talk to you about. So the first topic I wanted to talk to you about is the future of management consulting. Well, in the grand scheme of things, I think management consulting has a very decent future, and I'm gonna talk about this in a special video that I will publish probably next week or the following week. There are a few important things that you need to consider while applying to consulting and preparing for consulting, mainly your digital skills, but I don't think there may be any impact on consulting in the long term. So I think this current pandemic situation will stop eventually, and consulting will get back to business again. So what you are more interested, though, I guess, is the current situation and the short-term prospects of consulting. Here, frankly speaking, not many people know anything because no one knows what the measures by the governments will be and how they will affect the business. This is a big question even now, and even to management consultants. What that means to you, according to my talking to different applicants so far from different offices, is that indeed the number of interviews has gone down, just because the interviewers are not able to see everyone on site. The interviews have gone over Skype or other teleconferencing systems, and the number of interviews has certainly gone down, because most interviewers now work from home, and working from home is, well, quite difficult, and they have a lot of stuff to do other than interviewing you guys, especially given that the short-term prospects of starting a job now are not that clear. So I got a message from one of my students who got an offer today, and, well, there is a big question on when they will start working, just because of this situation. So bottom line here, we don't know what will happen to management consulting. But for now, what is happening is a short-term, I wouldn't say freeze necessarily, but rather a reduction in the speed of interviewing and the reduction in the number of interviews coming along. You cannot do much about this situation just because, well, you cannot affect the measures taken by the government. You cannot affect the speed of the spreading of the virus. You cannot obviously affect the steps taken by consulting firms. I think the best thing you can do now is take your time to prepare and wait till you get an opportunity to apply. There is no point in rushing to apply right now just because, they won't consider in order to be considered sooner. So right now, everything is going to develop at more or less the same speed regardless of when you apply. And this speed is wholly affected by external factors, like, as I said, the dynamics of the disease and also the measurements taken by governments worldwide. So we just have to wait. And the best thing you can do is prepare. Because obviously, best candidates will definitely invest time in preparing for video interviews, for tests, for all kind of fit questions, and so on and so forth. And now they have time because their work hours are pretty much reduced, even if they work from home, from different places around the world, and especially if they work from Russia. They have a holiday next week, and I assume the holidays will pretty much continue even after that. So a lot of people will be investing time in studies right now. So I guess that means that the level of competition might increase, the level of preparation will be higher. So you probably don't want to lose out on this opportunity and get in front of the competition. So please, guys, invest your time in studies right now. Okay. Good. Now I have questions. I have comments about sound. This is great. Before I proceed, let me pause and take any questions about the current situation. Of course, I haven't said much, but that's because I don't know much, frankly speaking, at this point. Even as I said, consulting firms don't know much. But I'm pretty open to sharing any other ideas I have in case I wasn't very clear about what I said. Okay, so yeah, Adrian Flint. For the last 6 months, been learning Python and its applications to data analytics extensively, even used in couple projects. What could be good exit opportunities for senior associate at Big Four? A good exit opportunities for a senior associate at Big Four. You can go into management consulting, and you can go into product management. I guess these two areas are most popular nowadays, and I have witnessed a pretty good switch between applying for consulting and applying for product management roles. I have a few students who got into management consulting, not the big three, but some other reputable second-tier companies, and they all at the same time got offers from big tech companies for product management positions. And they took the product management roles, and they are pretty happy with their decisions so far. So if you know, sorry, I forgot to say, those candidates work for Big Four, exactly, just like you are. So if you are saying that you've been learning Python, its applications to data analytics, so I guess you have a rough understanding of technology, of the technological stack right now. What the front end is, what the back end is, what different databases are used in different applications, what their pros and cons are, stuff like that. And I think you can find a good way to talk to developers, to talk to the developing team. So you can work with the digital part of the project, so to say. But you can look at the business perspective as well. So this is a good opportunity for applying to product management roles because they are looking for such people like you are with business background, but also understanding of technology. Well, other opportunities, I think it depends on what you did in Big Four, but you can also go into strategy departments of various firms. And if you were involved in implementation, that's a huge opportunity for you to go into consulting or crisis management teams, something like that, in corporations, in the industry, because I guess this is what will be pretty important in the coming months, well, maybe even years, who knows, but in the coming months for sure. Okay, I'm also interested in data science. That's what Anton is writing. I think right now data science is a bit of a tricky thing because there are lots of junior candidates in the space right now with some preliminary understanding of data science based on some courses, maybe some little experience, maybe some pet projects, but the market seems to be overcrowded with junior guys. And if you want to start your journey in data science, seems like you'll need to invest more time in, well, again, I'm pretty much saying the same thing, right? Invest more time in preparation. But, seems like that's what we'll have to do in data science right now because there is huge competition among junior guys. Among middle data scientists and senior data scientists, not that much because the junior guys haven't had the chance to grow into middle and senior guys so far. So the job market is still developing. But in the junior field, you'll have to compete. So get ready for that. Are you planning doing some series on coding interviews for big tech, for instance? Actually, I think no at this point because I don't have any experience in coding interviews. So I'll have to get someone to do those videos for me. I did some interviews for Shad, for example, for the School of Data Science for Yandex, but that's not big experience, not something I could share with you for your profit. I would obviously need to find some more experienced person in that, but I'll think about it. Thanks for the suggestion. I'll definitely think about it. What is your opinion on PMP certification and alikes? Is it useful? Is it helpful in consulting? Well, I guess not really. So very few certifications are useful in consulting. I was thinking about CFA. Well, CFA might be useful, I think, if you're applying to specific roles in financial advisory, like Oliver Wyman. That might help. But applying to Big 3 won't really change anything for you if you have a CFA or PMP or anything. So I think if you have it, that's good. Put it on your resume and go for it. But if you don't have it, I wouldn't suggest that you invested your time in getting a PMP certificate. So rather, spend more time in preparing for cases and other stuff. That would make a difference rather than a specific certificate. So let me pause with questions here and let me continue with the second part of our discussion today. And this is how you can excel in video interviews. I'm not going to tell you extensive theory how it works. I'm going to share, I guess, 3 simple tricks with you that you need to consider and you need to implement in order to run great interviews. Point number 0, of course, is practice. If you do a lot of practice on video interviews, you get used to them and they started to flow more smoothly. It's like talking to camera, right? Before you start talking to camera, you feel really anxious because it's the first time. That's a very strange thing. You don't see people in front of you. You see just the camera. You see just the lens. You have to look at it and you have to pretend you're talking to people. That's weird. That's like that's like public speaking before you started. But once you get some experience, once you get some practice, it gets much easier. Same thing here. You're not used to video interviewing. You don't see the person in front of you. You might not even see the person in the camera. You just hear the person. That's a bit confusing. You need to get used to it. So point 0 is preparation, is practice of these video interviews. First point, get good internet connection. That really pisses you off, and that really pisses off interviewers as well when you cannot listen to the person you're talking to. And the person is trying to explain to you something, but this person gets disconnected all the time. Or you cannot hear the question the interviewer is asking because of poor connection. Or you just get cut off, and then you reinstall your connection in 10 minutes, but the interviewer is already disappointed and pissed off and has run out of time, and obviously the interview would not continue well for you. So definitely good internet connection, and ideally good several sources of internet connection. So get a good Wi-Fi, ideally unlimited with a huge bandwidth. Then get the internet from the cell phone, 4G. Well, 5G is not there yet. Okay, 4G at least, and make sure it works. If you have several phones, even better. If you can interview in some setting where the internet traffic is not overloaded, that would be better. Or maybe you can choose hours when people aren't using internet that much. Let me take that back. That won't help you anymore, unfortunately, because right now everyone's working from home and everyone's using internet. So that's a bit of a tricky issue, of course, but try to get good internet connection if you can, and try to get several bandwidths of internet connection, cell phone and your Wi-Fi. That's first point. The continuation of the first point is if you see that your internet connection is weak, get rid of video. A good audio is much better than a poor audio and poor video. So stop streaming video altogether if you see it's not working. So first point, good internet. Second point, learn to draw on screen. Get this thing. So this is a tablet. That's, by the way, a pretty cheap tablet. I think it costs something like $100 or even less. It's called Wacom or something, and you can use it to draw. Let me show you something. So how it works for drawing. So you get this whiteboard, you get this thing here, and you see you can start drawing. You can draw pretty much anything with certain practice. Okay. Price, quantity, mix. So, showing something on the screen when you're taking your interview is much better than not showing anything or just showing pictures taken from your phone. That will change the overall impression of the interviewer. That will actually increase the likelihood of providing a positive impression on the interviewer, and that will also help your thoughts to get organized. Again, drawing on screen takes practice, and I think you won't be able to draw on screen very well with your mouse. So I'd suggest that you get a tablet and you get a program to practice drawing on screen. And this is actually my third advice. So my third advice is learn a number of programs, a number of websites that could be helpful for drawing on screen. So I've just shown to you one of them. That's called, let me see, that's called Web Whiteboard. So that's pretty useful, and you can use that for drawing with someone else. And it's free. You can use it if necessary. Then there are a few applications. Please remind me in the comments later so that I can write the specific names of the applications that you can use to write on screen, on top of any screen. So there are a number of apps for macOS, and there are a number of apps for Windows. I've used pretty much most of them, I think, and I can give you recommendations. So get those and get used to using them, and that will increase the quality of your presentation overall. So my third point is get to know the applications that will increase your productivity and the quality of your presentation in video conferences. Okay, let me pause here. Those are the major things about video conferencing. Okay, of course I could say something about your posture, your presentation, getting good microphone, stuff like that, getting lights. But I think those are not the most important things. And the most important things are practice, decent internet connection, a tablet, and the applications for drawing on screen. And that will change everything for you guys. Okay, I'm pausing here to take some questions. Okay, Adrian is writing, I remember you're taking academic year at Chad. What happened at the end? What did you decide to study there? So I took leave of absence at the Yandex School of Data Science because obviously I didn't have enough time for doing the regular work on my projects at FLAS, preparing the videos and also preparing the course platform that we're about to kick off in like 2 weeks, I guess. That will be the digital case coach system. That will be super amazing, but I'm gonna talk about it, I think, a bit later once we roll it out. So that took a lot of time from me, and I couldn't invest time in learning at the School of Data Science at Yandex, so I had to stop that. I'm not sure if I will be able to continue next year or not, because obviously the School of Data Science at Yandex takes a lot of time, and I'm not sure I'll be able to invest that much time. But we'll see. We'll see. I'm still taking the leave of absence. Well, not the leave of absence. That's called sabbatical, I guess. That's called sabbatical, and I'm gonna decide later if I continue or not. What I studied there, I think I shared that in a separate video when I was talking about the courses I took. That was the algorithm and data structures, C++, and machine learning, and also some mathematics. So those are the major things for developing machine learning tools and also taking them to production. So I thought they might be useful, and I took them. But also I realized that it's much more efficient to get a good team of programmers with you to do a project. That's what we're doing right now, rather than trying to do everything on my own. There is a certain limit of my understanding of the code, and if I want to go beyond that limit, just investing into studies at SHAD, the data science school, will not be enough. Obviously, I'll need to invest more. I'll need to get experience as a programmer, and that could be useful in our projects, but that would take too much time out of my other projects at FLAS. So someone needs to run the business, obviously, and I have to do that, and I have to rely on the programming side of things to my partners. And, well, that's obviously much more efficient, as I see now, than trying to do everything myself. By the way, a side note, learning to delegate things is very important. I haven't learned that myself, but I'm trying to do that, and I see that as a businessman, one of the most important things actually, is being able to delegate stuff to a great team of people around you. But, well, I'm still not at the mastery of this skill, but I feel it's important. I'm trying to improve. I'm continuing with your questions. What is the career track to become product manager? Is it okay to start as junior product and raise to senior? Well, since this sphere, this job, ladder, so to say, is just starting. Well, not exactly just starting, so it started like a few years ago, but still it's in the development phase. There is no strict rule of going from one point to another in product management. It's not like consulting where they have a specific ladder that you need to follow in order to grow from a business analyst to a manager to a junior partner to a senior partner. Here you can start from junior product manager or product analyst or like business analyst and switch on to product manager later on. Or you can get some experience in business, like in a consultancy or at a big four advisory, and then upon getting some knowledge of digital stuff, like a bit of coding, a bit of product analytics, a bit of all the tools used for data analysis, and maybe some statistical toolkits for A/B testing at least, you can switch to product management directly without being a product analyst before that. Of course, it depends on some luck and some skill, because you'll need to run through a few interviews. You'll probably fail quite a few of them, but after all, you'll improve, and then you are likely to get a job offer. And I think the likelihood of getting a job offer in product management, if you are not specific about the firms you want to get offers from, you'll be able to get the offers easier than from consulting companies, especially if you're aiming at big three. So getting an offer from a small company who is looking for a product manager is easier than getting an offer from a consultancy. And of course, getting an offer from Facebook or Google is pretty difficult, and you need to get experience. But that's okay. You start with a small company, you grow, then you switch to a bigger company, and then you get into yet another company, and then finally to the tech giants of Facebook, Google, or anything you prefer. You need to build your experience from scratch, and you need to build your experience from small companies to bigger companies. Obviously, because in small companies, they are ready to accept your lack of experience, and they are ready to help you learn. Just because they don't have a strong brand and they don't have any other options, they are ready to take smart people with great experience, than not take anyone at all. Okay, next question. Same question regarding business analysts. How do I become one? Well, that's obviously the same thing as management consultant. Management consultant is a business analyst at the start. So just prepare for interviews, apply to different companies, and then start your job. You can apply to consultancies, but also you can apply to other companies who have strategic departments and analytics departments. All major corporations do, so you can apply there. The interview process is more or less the same across the board, so prepare, apply, get the job. And that's what we're talking about in all our videos, except for the math videos, of course. Great advice on the tablet. Yep. Those questions were covered in the dedicated videos. Yeah, about chat. Yes, you're right. Thanks for mentioning the videos. Is it possible to replace a case interview with a kind of test, just as it happened with PST? Behind obvious economic benefits, do you think this could provide decent reliability for big three? No, I think it's not possible to replace case interviews at this point with a test, because the test just measures your problem-solving ability, your ability to read information and then think about it. But the interview also measures your ability to deliver information and to impress. So do you look like an asshole, or do you look like a nerd, or do you look like a consultant? That's what consultants can say when they see you. Probably some machine learning tool could do this as well, but you wouldn't be able to talk to this tool, because right now the capabilities of talking, of natural language processing, and building context based on that are very limited. So you won't be able to build a conversation with a machine, and without this conversation, the consultants won't be able to see how good you are at the job of consulting, at the job of talking to people. So obviously this part is important, and it's not going to go away soon, I believe. And you cannot replace an interview with a PST or some other test. You need to take both the test or digital assessment and the interview. Moving on, what's the main difference between general consulting and advanced analytics department and Big Three? So advanced analytics is more like research. So they do the models, but they don't talk to the client that much. Whereas the general analytics department, the general consulting, talks to clients more. So that's a client-facing role. But at the same time, they do less analytics. They use help of advanced analytics teams to build the complicated models and to deliver them to clients. So if you want to talk to clients more, and I think this is a bigger career opportunity as well. You go into general consulting. If you want to build models and to work more with analytics than with people, then advanced analytics, I guess, is better. I think even a better option is the digital consulting, which is McKinsey Digital, BCG Digital, or Bain Vector, I think, because it combines the analytical tools and at the same time the need to talk to clients, which is a great opportunity to grow your skill set. And also, this part of consulting is growing like crazy. So if you want to build a successful career after consulting, and if you want to build a great career in consulting as well, consider joining digital rather than just general track or advanced analytics track. How to estimate appropriate skill level of DS for applying for data science position in consulting? Try to go to a few interviews in different companies and see what feedback you get. If the general feedback is good, then most likely consulting for the data science skill set for consulting would also be okay for you. Because the requirements for consultants, the requirements for data science in consulting are not that strict. After all, consultants are not doing state-of-the-art research and model implementation. They are building pretty much simple but robust models that could create tangible results for the clients. So you need to know the basic models, and you need to know how to apply them. That means that you can gauge your performance in interviews versus interviews in most other companies in data science. And I think if you manage to pass an interview at, say, Google or Yandex for data science, then obviously, for sure, you will pass an interview in management consulting. Moving on. Do you think there are significant differences in exit opportunities among the big three? No. I think there are no differences. And also, there are not many differences in exit opportunities between big three and tier 2 companies, frankly speaking, even though big 3 companies claim otherwise. But if you watch the video I had with Nastya, who is the CEO of a recruiting firm, she explained, a recruiting firm for consultants, she explained that pretty much the skill sets are the same. The evaluation of the skill set by prospective employers is the same across the board of consulting, across big 3 and tier 2 companies. Even small companies like SPG are also quite okay. And in terms of exit opportunities, there are no major differences. Does a person exiting from McKinsey have better exit options than a person exiting from Bain, BCG with compatible experience? Well, same thing, no. The exit opportunities are the same, except for the network that you gain. But the network depends on you and on the projects that you do rather than on a specific firm. So you cannot say that the prospects after McKinsey are definitely better than the prospects after BCG. But the prospects after McKinsey in specific areas might be better than the prospects after BCG in some other areas. Okay. I hear kids screaming in the background. What are some challenges, assuming you are dead, what are some challenges you faced as a single working parent at the time, if that was the case after your first child was born? Well, I think the major challenge of being a parent and working is getting used to being a parent and getting used to responsibilities that you have once you are a parent. And the major responsibility, I think, is helping out my wife, because my wife my wife now started working, but before that she was the single parent taking care of the kids at home while I had to work. And taking care of the kids at home is very difficult. I think it's even more tiring than doing your regular work. So you need to be ready to help out your significant other at home after you get back from work. And that's also quite difficult because you get tired after work as well. But you also need to understand that, well, this is kind of important. If you decided to build a family, after all, you need to do that and get used to that. Now, think twice before you build a family, but if you decided to do that, then be responsible and be a caring parent and share responsibilities with your significant other. Once you get used to that, that becomes easier, but getting used is very difficult. Getting used to being a parent is quite difficult. Let's assume that I can speak 4 foreign languages. English, one of the Southeast languages such as Chinese, and 2 European languages, let's say German and Spanish. Will knowledge of these languages increase the chances of getting into management consulting if the knowledge of these languages is about B2, C1 level? Well, no, unfortunately. In most countries where the knowledge of language of the language of the country is important, you need to know this language at the level of the native speaker. And C1 is obviously not enough. So, simple example. When I started in Italy, my level of Italian was C2, I think. So that was actually professional knowledge of Italian. But that was not enough for being considered, not for management consulting, but for investment banking, which is similar in terms of language requirements in Italy. So they could consider me in London, where, well, pretty much everyone is not a native speaker, and that's fine not to be a native speaker of English. But that's not fine not to be a native speaker of Italian when you need to work with Italians. Same thing about French. Same thing about Chinese, actually, which is more difficult and which is more based on a different understanding, I would say different understanding of life, but that would sound weird. Different, cultural background that you need to possess, not just the language. If you don't have that, it's like 0 or 1. You're either a native speaker and, the counterparts think you are almost like a native speaker, or you are not. And then it doesn't matter if your level is C1 or B1 or nothing. So command of English helps. Command of other languages only at the level of a native speaker. Otherwise, sorry, no. Bought Essentialism as you advised. I see why you liked it. It's written in extremely structured way. Yeah, I think I actually don't know the name of this book in English. I'm not sure it's called Essentialism. If it is, then great. This is a great book. If it's not, sorry, you guys who haven't read this in Russian, I don't know the English name. I think that's the best book for consultants and for starting entrepreneurs who are just kicking off their first project and who don't have enough resources to do everything and need to choose what they do. I think I personally haven't been able to master this book very well because I still do lots of useless stuff, unfortunately. But I'm trying to improve here as well. just like in delegation. Well, delegation is actually part of focusing and part of essentialism paradigm. So once I get successful in delegation, I think I'll be more successful in focusing and doing what's important. So if you work on focusing as well, I suggest you read the book, and I think it's great. Thanks so much for the reply. Can one switch to digital after having worked as a generalist? Yes, you can. What are some tools that the person has to be familiar with to make the switch? Well, I don't have a comprehensive list of tools, I think, and that's a great idea for the video, actually. So I think I'm going to prepare a video on that, and you'll be able to get this list. Obviously, the list won't be comprehensive, but it will be pretty helpful. Right now, what I can say, what could be useful is, well, first, some general understanding of programming. So what programming languages are out there, what their advantages and disadvantages, why we need some data structures, why we need data bases, what we can get from them, what are specific advantages and disadvantages of some different sets. Then the workflow of developing a project, developing a digital project. So what are the parties involved, how they work with each other, what are the different systems of collaboration, so to say, like the Scrum system, the waterfall system, things like that. I personally, I'm not that much familiar with them, so my development team does use them. But I think if you are working in a huge team, my team is not huge. If you are working in a huge team, you might need to learn those things. So once our team grows to something bigger, I'll need to learn them. Right now, I'm not familiar, but if you're a consultant, I think it's better you get used to that. And I think the third thing is some basics of the frameworks for development. Not frameworks like specific languages, but rather the frameworks how microservice is organized. For example, that there is front end, there is back end, how they interact, how they get authenticated, who reaches out to database, stuff like that. So I think watching a few videos on those structures would actually help. If you remind me later, I guess in the comments, because right now I cannot search. If you remind me later, I'll show you a video which covers most of these things. Not the basics of languages, of course, but the basics of structures of microservices. And that, I think, might cover most of your needs. Then question. Do you think MBTI is a reliable tool to evaluate someone's personality? Is it really used in consulting? Yes, it is. MBTI is the type of personality based on separate characteristics, like being extrovert or introvert, being concentrated on details, on big picture, being driven by emotions or intelligence, and some other thing I don't remember. It is used actually in consulting indeed, but mainly for the purpose of getting to know each other. So once you start on a project, you usually share your MBTI profile, and this is just a way to talk about your preferences in work. So I'm an extrovert, I prefer working with the team, or I'm an introvert, I prefer time to think before I talk, so please give me time to think. But that's just one of the characteristics that might be important. You can also share like something like your preferred schedule. So you like to start early in the morning, but you want to finish early at night, or you prefer working late hours, but starting late as well. And then you share some other specific circumstances of your personal life, maybe not the details, but for example, you say, well, I'm a parent. I it's important for me to make sure I have dinner with my family, but I'm okay with continuing work after I have dinner with my family. So this is also something you share with your team in your check-in, your first check-in, when you get to know each other, along with MBTI. So MBTI is useful to get to know each other, but not necessarily something that's used for evaluation, for example. That's just, no, the color of your skin. Not even the color of your skin, because the color of your skin doesn't really affect how you work, but some of specific traits of your character affect your working preferences. What's next? Is the selection process for digital department consulting the same as general? Yes, I think the interviews might be a bit different, so the cases will be more related to digital topics, but not necessarily. And also, they might put even more emphasis on your communication skills, because in digital, you'll need to show strong communication skills. Digital is all about building products and implementing and iterating quickly, so making the change happen, so to say, in a cliche phrase. And that means that you need to work with the clients a lot. And that means you need to communicate a lot, and you need to have strong communication skills, even more than in general consulting. So you need to be prepared on them as well. But besides that, I don't think there are some specific differences if you apply to digital consulting as a consultant. Of course, if you're applying as a data scientist, the story would be different. If you're applying as a designer, even more so. But I guess we're talking about consultants here and not about data scientists and designers. You can even apply for consulting as a product manager right now, I think. And also you will work in the digital practice. That's also possible. Other questions? Okay. What are the differences between second and first round McKinsey interviews? Well, first round is conducted by managers. Second round is conducted by partners. And all the differences derive from this specific aspect. So the major difference is that partners are more experienced in choosing people, and they've seen quite a lot of candidates, they've seen quite a lot of consultants, and they know what they're looking for. So they don't need to be that strict about solving a case, because even from talking with you, they already understand what kind of person you are and if you're a good fit for their team. Whereas managers are more diligent with cases, and they generally will spend more time with you solving a case. So I guess you need to be more prepared with cases for the manager part, which is the first round of interviews, and you need to be better prepared for fit for the second round. Well, that's not to say that the second round is necessarily easier in terms of cases, because sometimes partners do want to test your analytical abilities, but not all of them. And many partners might give you a simple case and just talk to you about different things, about your career prospects, what you're looking for in the future, and see what kind of person you are. And based on that discussion alone, many partners will be able to judge if you're a good fit or not. Then, how generalists cooperate with digital specialists on engagements? Digital specialists create specific parts of the work, so to say. And generalists are like the glue that needs to link the different parts of the project team, like the designers, the coders, maybe sometimes even product managers, and also the clients, to make the project succeed for the client and for the rest of the team. So they are pretty much doing a similar work than they used to do back in the days when they connected the research and analytics part of consulting firms with the client. So they're doing that, but also right now they are working more with coaching the works of the employees of the client in order to implementing certain new ways of developing products, for example, or some other techniques for problem solving, whatever. For example, if a client wants to implement a new way to build microservices in the company, I think I'm going to talk about this example a bit later in a separate video. So what digital does. So, and one of the examples is building a microservice culture, so to say. And you will need to coach the clients employees on changing their way of work from building a monolithic structure, a huge service, one-stop shop service, to splitting this service into separate small microservices. You'll need to explain how this is done. You'll need to do it with the clients together, and you'll need to coach them to do it later on their own. So, as I said, as a generalist, you'll need to be the glue, the link between the digital specialist and the client, and also you'll need to coach the client in order to change their ways of work for kind of new digital approaches. Okay. Could you please tell me more about applying to Big 3 as product manager? What does that imply? So far, I think I couldn't really say much because we don't have guys, students, I mean, who applied as product managers so far. I've seen such opportunities on the website, and I've seen that McKinsey is looking for such people. So if you have specific ideas and if you want to apply, I think just get back to me through email, and we'll talk about it one-on-one. But so far, I don't think I have any specific insights to share with you. Okay, while we're waiting for other questions, here's one thing I wanted to share with you. I wanted to share with you two promo codes for the courses. As I said, it's important now to invest in your preparation. So if you decide to invest with us, here's what you can do. So there's this promo code, consulting tests 5,000, and that will give you a 5,000 ruble discount for the consulting tests sequence, which covers the math part, the verbal part, and also the practice tests. So that's actually the two courses combined. Our math course, verbal, and tests. That will take a lot of time actually to solve these courses, but that will be great preparation. If you manage to solve these courses, to do all the work there, to follow up on all the feedback that you get here, your level of problem solving will be pretty strong. So I don't think you'll have any problems in case interviews concerning your analytical abilities. And then this is one thing, and then there's a second promo code, which is called BJ1000, and as you guessed, this is a 10K. Okay, disappeared. I'm gonna repeat it again. BJ1000. This is a promo code for a 10,000 ruble discount for the business judgment course. Business Judgment is the advanced case interview course where you need to solve cases with a coach. You need to solve cases, then record your answers and submit for feedback, for very detailed feedback, something you need at advanced levels of preparation. I think there are like 26 separate factors that you get feedback on each case. This is pretty detailed. And this is when you'll train your interviewing skills, because you'll need to draw on paper and you'll need to record videos of yourself a lot. So if you want to prepare for video interviews, that will help you a big deal. So this is the promo code for Business Judgment. So the price for Business Judgment will be 10K, 30,000 rubles instead of 40. And then this will be 14,900 instead of 19,900, I guess. This promo code will last, I think, as long as the quarantine lasts. So while we're staying at home, while we're working from home, while we have time to study, you can take this stuff and use them. But please use them quicker if you decide to use them at all, of course, because they will take a lot of time to prepare. They will take a lot of time. But if you have this time, and seems like you might have, they'll give a great opportunity to you. So let me get back to your questions. Okay, good. Are there any updates on preparation for Embellos? I've seen some materials in the web, but my guess is that they just restate the paper on which the test is based. Okay, good question. I suggest that you watch my video. That was actually another webinar from 1 month ago, in which I detailed their preparation. Well, of course, would be great to get the Embellos itself and practice with it, but of course they don't share it, and I don't think anyone will develop a program for coaching with Embellos, because it just takes too much effort. But I've shared a few insights on how you can prepare, and I've shared the specific skills that you need to prepare for in order to succeed. Those are problem solving, reading comprehension, and critical reasoning, and they can be trained through regular test practice, this course I mentioned here. And also there is systems thinking, and you can practice it through, guess what, computer games, Civilization, for example, or even Sims. That might be helpful. That's just a quick review, but I suggest you go back to that video and watch it again, because I shared more details there. What's the feedback that you have from the candidates? Their feedback is that the digital assessment is pretty simple. So those who scored high on the test course, on the problem-solving test course, which is now the consulting test sequence, they passed. All of them, they passed digital assessment because it's easier than PST. Those who did not score well, some of them did pass, some of them did not pass. But the impression is that the assessment is pretty relaxed, not too complicated, even though you need to calculate stuff a bit and you need to get used to it. But if you are good with math and reading and understanding stuff, then you should good to go. Would you recommend solving GMAT questions in the meantime as a way to keep your brain fit? Yeah, I think GMAT is good, even though I would recommend something more complicated than GMAT. Some more complicated and some more consulting specific questions. Like the ones we had in the consulting test sequence. But if not that, then GMAT is better than nothing for sure. Yes. Moving on. What's your view on the guys from crafting cases? Well, my view is that, well, I'm surprised about the lengthy landings. I know how they manage to write that much, and I know how people manage to read that much. In terms of, okay, landings are not that important for you. In terms of the specific content that we make, well, I have quite different opinions that I heard. Some guys are very happy with the materials from crafting cases, and they keep recommending them all the time, which is good. Some people say that, well, it's just a restatement of the obvious, and it's just a set of tests with some quite simple explanations. So that's a downside. We're actually going to challenge crafting cases in the coming weeks with our own digital course developed by Vlad Baskakov. So Vlad Baskakov is a friend of mine and my former colleague, who is a coach, and he got some exceptional reviews in the United States. I was actually surprised that someone could like a coach that much. I wish people liked me that much. And so he developed a program, and we made it interactive with my developers, and that will be a great thing. And I think that will be more engaging and more detailed than what we've seen from crafting cases from their paid programs. But after all, that will come down to you guys who take the programs and compare and say for yourself which is better. So as I said, I've heard a lot of good reviews about crafting cases, so I don't want to just pour negative feedback on someone who's doing a similar thing to what I'm doing. But I'm pretty sure that we can do better, and I'll show it to you in a couple of weeks. So get ready. Okay, next question. Sure, I've seen the video. The video is very useful. Okay, great. So I suppose all the material from the video is up to date, right? Yeah, it is. The landing is extremely long. Do you think the functionality framework is relevant? This way different from Victor Chang's 3C, 1P profitability frameworks. Well, my strong belief is that I don't like frameworks at all. That's why we developed the structuring course with Anna, where we don't teach frameworks at all. You need to come up with your own frameworks. And the problem with the criticism about Victor Chang is that most people take him literally by saying, okay, so this is his framework, just use it everywhere. No, he explained how to develop a framework. And if you understand that, if you build your own frameworks, you are good to go for case and use. If you based your case solving on some framework developed by someone else, like Victor Chang or crafting cases, or even the frameworks that we'll explain in our course with Vlad, you're supposed to fail, because that's visible when someone is not making the frameworks for themselves and not making specific frameworks for the specific case. So I think to answer your question, I think crafting cases framework is just as good as the framework developed by Victor Chang, and for that reason other frameworks that you could find anywhere. And think for yourself. This is how you get into consulting. Build your stuff, not base it on someone else's stuff. Okay. So excited to see your response to such a competitor. Actually, all the time my approach was completely different. I didn't want to build. I didn't want just to record the video materials, and sell them online. That looked kind of weird and uninteresting. But then I started, That was something I kind of persuaded myself to do, build courses always with a mentor. But then I started listening to feedback from people, and I realized that not all people, not for all courses, want a teacher. Sometimes they want to learn on their own and get help only when necessary. So we took that idea, we realized that we need to listen to people, and we developed this thing where well, you'll go at your own pace and at the same time be able to talk to a teacher when necessary. And that seems to be working right now way better. Especially that's what we're seeing with the consulting test sequence. And then used to be even when I taught consulting test sequence myself, because many people skipped classes because they didn't have time and they had to watch them in recordings later, and the recordings are not that high quality because of the internet connection and stuff. So we developed the materials to let students work when they want, at the pace they want. But if they want to ask questions, mentor is always there to help. So we still have mentors, but mentors are there for support, but not for delivering material. The description of Anna on the website mentioned that she was in the process of building a case simulator. How is she doing? Well, I think she changed her concept right now. She's more working on developing the community, which is now pretty strong. The community of Costa Case Club. She's working on that right now. I don't think she's working that much in a simulator. But I think I'll ask her. I think last time we talked about it was quite a long time ago, and I remember they had problems with developers, and that it's less like a nightmare. And yeah, developing in a small team with a small budget is a nightmare. It's very difficult, but I'm really happy. I'm lucky that I have a great team of developers who are very committed, who are very driven, and who are very independent, but at the same time open to communication and wants to look into the business side of things. So I'm happy to have such a team. I guess most people don't have such a team, and I think Anna didn't have such a great team as we're having right now. So, but we'll see how it goes. Okay. What's your opinion on School 42? I think that's a great concept, and that's what I said. So there are oftentimes parts when you don't need a mentor, you need to learn on your own. Yes, but at the same time, there are crucial moments when you need a helping hand from someone experienced. And I've seen it based on my own experience when I studied at the School of Data Science. I did most of the time on my own or with the help of my classmates, just like in the School 42. But at the same time, there were critical points where I had to ask questions to the mentor. And I did that, and it really saved my time and improved my understanding of the material. So same thing here, same thing in consulting. That's why we keep mentors in our courses. Sometimes you need to reach out to someone smart and experienced, and not just your classmate. And this is where coaches help, and this is where I think 42 has a huge disadvantage. I haven't studied at the School 42, of course, but I would really change this thing if I were to manage them. What are possible examples of cases of interview for data scientist intern position at McKinsey? What are better ways to prepare? Well, case interviews are the same for generalists and data scientists. Example of a case, well, you are the head of the government of a small country which is invaded by a virus. Surprise, surprise. In a neighboring country. What are you going to do? So you need to structure your thoughts and you need to present your case. So that's an example. And there are other examples which are more related to business, but cases are not necessarily business related. They can be different things. So this one is an example as well. How do you prepare? Well, same way you prepare for case interviews. First you take structuring with Anna, then you do business judgment, as I showed here with the promo code, and also study with your with your peers, with fellow candidates, and take a coach if necessary. And with certain level of iteration, you get a very good result. Same thing as for a generalist position. Doesn't matter. What is your ranking of Russian business schools? I've heard good stuff about Skolkovo, and I haven't heard much about anything else. So I guess Skolkovo. Thank you for such extensive and deep responses. Can't thank you enough for dedication. My pleasure. My pleasure to talk to you guys finally after so many months of silence. Oh, by the way, yeah, you're not looking at me. Let me get back. Let me get back to the video. I completely forgot about the video. So, okay. I think we should call it a day now because I don't have any more questions, and I hope I covered them all. Again, let me draw on screen something again. So yeah, back to our idea about video conferences. So if you have questions, I think the best thing is to write them in the comments to this video, and I'll get back to you. And I promise to share something. I don't remember what, but please mention in the comments again, and I will get back to you, and I'll share stuff with you. And also, I'll repeat the promo codes in the comments as well, so that you can use them. Well, I guess that's it. I guess that's all for today. But I think we'll have more office hours like that in the future, maybe in a few weeks. So stay in touch, prepare your questions, and show up in our office hours, and I'll be happy to talk to you guys. Okay, cheers. Turning this thing out now. How do I do that? Okay, here, end stream. Awesome. Cheers, guys. Yes.